Thom Hartmann here on the best of the rest of economic and labor news. You need to know this. In Senator Bernie Sanders' speech to the conference hosted by the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, he focused on the urgency of a moral economy. Sanders said the issue of wealth and income inequality is the great economic issue of our time, the great political issue of our time, and the great moral issue of our time. It's an issue that we must confront in my nation and across the world, end quote. Sanders talked about the Supreme Court's 2010 Citizens United ruling, which deemed that corporations are people and can give campaign donations to candidates. That ruling has established, Sanders said, a system in which billionaires can buy elections. He added that the U.S. has, quote, been left with an economy operated for the top 1%. Sanders, an outspoken admirer of Pope Francis, mentioned the pontiff directly in his remarks, quote, I am told time and time again that a truly moral economy is beyond our reach, yet Pope Francis himself is surely the world's greatest demonstration against such a surrender to despair and cynicism. Oxfam claims that top U.S. corporations have stashed $1.4 trillion offshore. Oxfam released its new report, broken at the top, to show the extent to which mega corporations such as Pfizer, Walmart, Goldman Sachs, Alphabet, Disney, and Coca-Cola keep money in offshore funds. These companies use over 1,600 subsidiaries to lower their global tax rate on $4 trillion in profits. And for every dollar of taxes these companies paid, they collectively receive $27 in federal loans, loan guarantees, and bailouts paid by the American taxpayers. Oxfam America President Raymond Offenheiser said in a statement, quote, the vast sums large companies stash in tax havens should be fighting poverty and rebuilding America's infrastructure, not hidden offshore in Panama, Bahamas, or the Cayman Islands, end quote. Elizabeth Warren rolled out a bill to make filing taxes easier and reduce the cost to taxpayers. The bill was offered days before the tax filing due date. Warren said in a press release, quote, Congress should be making it easier for Americans to file their taxes each year, not bowing to the interests of the tax preparation industry, end quote. The legislation, called the Tax Filing Simplification Act of 2016, would allow the Internal Revenue Service to develop a free online tax preparation service. It would also prevent the IRS from entering into agreements with tax preparation companies that limit the agency's ability to provide free preparation services. The bill has a number of co-sponsors, including Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who said, quote, tax day has become an opportunity for corporations to profit off of confusion over our complicated tax code. That is wrong. He added, the Tax Filing Simplification Act would end the absurdity of Americans having to pay private corporations hundreds of dollars to pay their taxes. Hillary Clinton, who also supports the bill, said, quote, this important piece of legislation will help us build a better, fairer tax system. She added, this proposal will help take the headache out of tax day, saving Americans both time and money. Elizabeth Warren also released a report that details how the tax prep industry has stopped the IRS from implementing laws to simplify tax preparation. Ted Cruz, trying to resell trickle-down Reaganomics to a new generation, told CNBC's Squawk Box, quote, my object is a minimum of 5% GDP growth. He claims to get there through his tax plan, which cuts taxes 10% across the board on all income and 16% on businesses. Echoing Reagan's false assertions, he added, quote, the numbers we're estimating are, if anything, underselling the GDP impact, end quote, of his plan. History proves, though, that tax cuts will not unleash huge economic growth, but are big giveaways to corporations and the rich. In fact, the richest 1% would get half of all of Cruz's tax benefits, with just 7% going to the middle and working class. It would reduce government revenue by $8.6 trillion over a 10-year span, giving a President Cruz a good excuse to further cut the social safety net. As we all know, and as research shows, massive tax breaks for the wealthy do not trickle down to the middle class. Reaganomics just creates a nation of peons. Patricia Cohen has an article at economyincrisis.com titled, Working but Needing Public Assistance Anyway. She writes, quote, a home health care worker in Durham, North Carolina, a McDonald's cashier in Chicago, a bank teller in New York, an adjunct professor in Maywood, Illinois. They're all evidence of an improving economy because they're working and not among the steadily declining ranks of the unemployed. Yet, These same people are also on public assistance, relying on food stamps, Medicaid, and other stretches of the safety net to help cover basic expenses when their paychecks come up short. End of quote. According to a new study by the Berkeley Center for Labor Research and Education at the University of California, close to 3/4 of the people helped by programs for the poor are families who have members working. Because of this, taxpayers are not only supporting the poor, but in effect giving a huge subsidy for employers of low-wage workers. The report estimates state and federal governments spend more than $150 billion a year on 4 key anti-poverty programs used by working families: Medicaid, temporary assistance to needy families, food stamps, and the Earned Income Tax Credit. So we, you and me, pick up the difference when employers don't pay a living wage. And that's the way it is for the week of April 18th, 2016. I'm Thom Hartmann on the Economic and Labor News.